guys, Ahmed here, back with another video, here to talk about the newest Dusty Locane record because he decided to release a second record, this one called From the Flu to Love. Going into this, I was had mixed emotions. Definitely, I was somewhat excited because Dusty Locane has been on a roll for me musically and has been getting consistently better. I was definitely considering him as an updated member of the top 10 of New York. That being said, the love in this title had me a bit concerned because I've never really been that big of a fan of Dusty Locane's love tracks. And, just in general, I've never been the biggest fan of doing worst albums of the year, simply because I never thought that there would be enough albums for me to talk about. But if motherfuckers are going to keep releasing albums like this, I expect to see a top 5 worst albums at the end of the year. This was pretty bad. For a lot of reasons. Let's get straight into it. The writing, mid. There weren't any super egregious bars, and it is just kind of the weird, unrelatable hood love story about comparing guns to girls. And talking about, the fear that you have that you're able to express with your partner of going outside because something might happen to you. But it wasn't really compelling. It was hard to really care about anything that was being said. And as I mentioned earlier, I think that love tracks really strive when they speak for the everyman. When they are very detailed and introspective, and you're not trying to put yourself in this very rough, I'm still strong, but I'm talking about love position. And Dusty didn't do that. It was very clear that he was still trying to uphold some image of gangster persona, despite the album trying to be about love, which has never really worked in hip-hop history. And overall, the lyrics just weren't really compelling, at all. That being said, there were a few interesting songs from a written perspective. I thought Mental and Heartbroken were okay, I guess, strictly from a written perspective. And it was sort of interesting to hear some of the different perspectives on love that he had as a, street nigga, I guess. That's about as much as I have to say about the writing. Production and creativity, bad, very bad. Not only is this not creative, because we've seen plenty of drill artists like Sleepy Hollow, like Chef G, and most importantly, like Pop Smoke, which you already sound like him. It's not a good look that now you're also trying to sing like him. We've already seen a lot of people do this and do it a lot better. We've already seen, them do it, and we've already seen them do stuff like this. And with these guitar melodies that seem just very by the books and cheap, it didn't really feel like a huge departure from what we normally see in this drill love lane. Also, the production was painfully bland, with some of Cajun Water's most empty beats I've ever heard, as well as just overall beats that didn't go with the vibe of what he was really talking about. I'm going to get it more into it with my flow conversation, but one of the biggest problems is that everything besides the lyrics don't match with the lyrics, which make it an extraordinarily awkward and awful listen. Speaking of which, let's get into the flows and the vocals. Bad. The flows were incredibly quick and aggressive, which doesn't really bode well for lovey-dovey tracks, because you would generally want people to kind of take the time to really listen to what you have to say. And so this kind of feels like, from a flow perspective, someone asking for an extraordinarily low and fine cut, and instead, because you can't pay for a narrower razor, you just get the widest razor possible and still just run it anyway. It felt like a complete mix match of vibes, and it really sounded awful on some songs, such as Mental, and the second song with 3K, I think is what it is. Just the vocal tones were super bad, on top of the fact that Dusty Locane has never possessed the vocal chops of Pop Smoke. The auto tune has always been a lot more clear and a lot more ugly on his songs, and it makes for an almost painful listen. The features were also pretty bad. Cajun Waters is sounding way more auto-tune drenched than his last record with Dusty Locane. 3K has one of the worst features I have ever heard in my entire life. I don't know if it was that the beat was off of beat or he was off of beat, but Jesus Christ, the fact that somebody listened to this, decided it was good, and then kept it on the album, at that point I gotta question your team. Like, all right, generally when you're bringing a different vibe like this, and this is the same problem I had with Drake on his record, when you're bringing a different vibe, you generally want to bring people who can support you in that vibe. In this case, whether that be people like a Boogie or people like TJ, you generally want to, or Alicia Keys, you generally want to bring people who are, well versed in the domain that you are trying to occupy, and then learn and play off of what they have to say. And even if your contributions aren't that great, you still have this background of people who can support you, like on Yachty's most recent efforts. But Dusty Locane didn't really do that. It just kind of sounds like he got his friends and said, "Hey, let's make this love record," which sounds terrible. Finally, musical execution, and this was the saddest part to me. This was also pretty bad. There's no songs that I want to take away from this at all. Rain was pretty much the only listenable song on there because the chorus wasn't as egregious. And for the most part, Cajun Waters is the one kind of doing his thing. But I would take literally any cut from their last album, like 2 months ago, over Rain. And so, yeah, it's not really, nothing's really hitting. And overall, all the songs, the beats, and the lyrics were just super forgettable. Mental, oh my God, Heartbroken, the last song on the album, like, these are like unironically some of the worst like singing attempts I've ever heard from a New York rapper. And that's saying something, because there's been some pretty bad singing attempts from rappers. I really hope that this album was able to get all of Dusty Locane's desires to be an A Boogie clone out of his system, so he can go back to what he's good at and slowly build on the established skill set that he already has, instead of jumping out into a world that he is clearly not prepared for. With that being said, thank you all for watching. Let me know what y'all thought of this record. Am I bugging? Does this record have some hidden potential? Is it growing on you? Let me know in the comment section below. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more updates on New York music. Peace, y'all.